Welcome to Energizing Life with AKR Fitness. I'm Jace.
I'm Lindsay.
And today is another special episode. We have got AKR member Jenna in the house. Jenna, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
And that's going to be the start tone. Jenna, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Lindsay?
Yeah, good. Ready to listen and learn from the messy kitchen herself.
Oh, AKA
I'm very knowledgeable.
TMK. Jenna, tell us who you are.
So I'm Jenna. I'm 31. I've been a member of AKR for just under 3 years now, I think. Yeah.
Just over 3 years when this airs.
Yeah. I don't know, just normal.
Just normal.
So like as Lindsay said, I'm also known as the Messy Kitchen. I enjoy cooking and eating and training, and it's life's good.
Nice. All of which we're going to dive into shortly. Take us back to the start of your AKR journey, or what did fitness look like before AKR for you?
Before I joined AKR, my sort of fitness journey was very stop-start. It was kind of always a means to an end. It was sort of like go all in, try to lose a stone or whatever, burn myself out, give up, and kind of be worse off than when I started. And by the time I actually found AKR, I'd done sort of 5 or 6 of these sort of stop-start cycles, and it was just getting every sort of time, it was getting more demoralising, more just difficult. So I actually found AKR like exactly at the time that I needed it, because it was the first place that I trained at, first gym that I'd been to, where it was just kind of like, it's fine, just slow your roll, come in, just work on the basics, and just chill. It was good. So it really suited what I needed at that time, which is great.
Ideal. So it sounds like it came at the right time for you.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Tell us more about sort of, you said there that you needed AKR at that moment.
Yeah.
Like, were you frustrated with what was going on?
So I think if I joined, I should have looked up the dates, but I think I joined AKR sort of like the third quarter of 2018.
7th of September 2018.
There you go. So the year before that, I had done the London Marathon for charity. And I am not a runner. Like, the only thing I can run is a bath. Like, and suddenly I decided, a friend of mine was ill at the time, and I decided to run for charity to support him. I was like, 26.2 miles, how hard can it be? Turns out very hard. Especially when, as I say, I'm not a runner, so I was literally starting from nothing to running a full marathon, and it was, for me, it was a big mistake.
Signing up for it?
The whole thing, like doing it, like the day itself was amazing. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I raised all the money that I did, but I completely underestimated the physical toll, but also the mental toll it would take on me.
Sorry, Jenna, was that in terms of the training or the day itself or the run up to it?
The training, both, yeah. So the training, I think because I wasn't a runner, it was sort of like every week. I mean, you know a marathon training plan. It's like you do 10 miles, then the next weekend you do 12 miles and all that sort. And it was like, oh, can I just get good at running 10 miles first? And it was sort of like, it was always, I was always pushing for every week was more than I'd ever done before. So by the time I got to the marathon itself, I was pretty burnt out. Then I did it, just ploughed on and did it.
Congratulations on running a marathon though, Jenna, even if it felt like hell on the run up to it.
And then sort of after that, I just kind of like mentally, just any sort of physical activity, I was just like, I want no part of it.
It really put you off.
Really put me off. I was just like, exercise is hard, it's unpleasant, I hate it, I don't want to do it, and it really set me back mentally for quite a long time. And then it was like sort of coming out of that, not doing much for say like 6 months. Then I was starting to feel rubbish about it. And so then I was sort of like, right, I'm going to get fit, blah, blah, blah. I tried to go around. I think I've been for a run about 5 times.
So you're not a runner?
No.
Still.
There's like a mental block. It's really weird. My brain just says, I don't want to do this. And yeah, I was getting really sort of down about my fitness, my kind of general shape. And then, yeah, I found it. I did my strategy session and my 30-day trial at AKR at the same time as I did a fundamentals course at another gym, like a kind of global franchise, shall we say. And because I think I'm very, like, I can get carried away, and I was like, you know, watching the CrossFit documentaries, and I was like, I can do that.
We've all been there.
Yeah. So I went along to some CrossFit sessions, and I was like, oh, I can't do that. And it was sort of a moment of like, look, just be sensible, just go and do. And I got such a good vibe from being here, and it was just sort of like, not to like disparage anybody that does CrossFit, but it was like when I came in here, people were normal. Like, it was suddenly everybody was relatable, and I wasn't like, I wasn't the unfit person trying to keep up with everybody. I was just like, everyone was here doing their own thing. There wasn't a sort of like, oh, I can lift more than you, or I can do that. And it was just like, oh, this is what I've needed. And I probably needed it from when I was at 18, but 28 will do.
So it sounds like, Jenna, you had this experience of the training for the marathon, very rocky road. You did the marathon, you then drew a line under health and fitness. It's not for me, I hate it. And then from that period of time to your walking through the doors of AKR, you had this stop-start cycle, feeling rubbish about yourself, doing something, but always feeling like you're chasing your tail a little bit with fitness, not feeling like you were a part of something. You tried both things and then realised, oh, actually, I think I've found something here that is relatable to me, and I can see myself progressing. Does that sound right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think like it probably goes back a bit further than that. Like, we are diving into the childhood. But no, I was like, I went to a good school, but PE wasn't one of their strong points. And they were really good with the kids who were really sporty and good at it. Yeah. And then if you weren't, like, you kind of got forgotten about.
Shuffled on.
And it was like, I think I played rounders for like 4 years in a row. Like,
but really good at rounders, though, right?
And you're not the only child that feels like that.
Yeah.
It felt like that at the time. There was a lot.
And I mean, and you look back now, and we got taught nothing about like, fitness, but also like mobility and sort of like looking after yourself, and then like the nutrition side of it as well. Like all of that, which I've learned at like in my late 20s, would have been so valuable as a teenager, and there was just none of that. It was just like, oh, go and kick a ball, and like that was it. So because of that, I think it took a long time for it to become part of my life. Mm-hmm. Like my husband, now, like he had a different experience where he had a great like PE department, and like it's just always been something that he's done. He's always been active, whereas I feel like I have to make a conscious effort to do that. Okay. So yeah, I think when I joined AKR, that was the first time that it sort of wove its way into just the fabric of my life. If you
became who you are.
Yeah. It became like, oh no, I'm good. I train on a Monday and I do this and I do that. And it's like, yeah, it was like transformational.
Was it a turning point? So tell us more about like, you had your 30-day trial, you felt like you belonged. Now, what are we in, like 3 years in now?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've actually, 250 visits, 160 PT sessions? Like, where was the turning point for you where you felt that it's now, like, tell us more about that.
I think I kind of like, I did my 30 days, I really enjoyed it, and it was sort of like maybe sort of 6-7 weeks in, and then, you know, missed a couple of sessions, kind of just sort of felt a bit, and it was actually you emailed me
You're in
to
trouble.
to say, everything okay? And I was like, oh wow. And that was the first time that I was like, they care. Like, it was that kind of like, it wasn't just me on my own anymore. It was kind of like you had the team backing you and being like, look, just come in, like, and then I realised, and I don't know, I'm sure a lot of members will have this epiphany when they're like just starting out in their membership, where it's like, you're all on our side, and it's like you want us to, and there's no kind of like, no judgment. And if I come in and I say, look, I've had a rubbish day, I'm just like not feeling it, you'll be like, okay, well, just take it easy and that. And then sometimes you come in and Jason's got that twinkle in his eye and you're like, oh God.
That's every day that you see, oh, Jason's the coach today, oh, disaster.
Abort mission.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. So yeah.
Jenna, I want you to take us back to the first time you walked into the arch. How were you feeling when you walked in? What was your thoughts? And yeah, go from there.
So I lived just up the road, and like I'd sort of driven past AKR a number of times, but I didn't actually know what it was that you did. I just thought it was a gym that you could turn up and use and then go away again. And it was actually when I submitted an inquiry on the website, and then I got a phone call back from Mike, and he explained the format of the small group PT and all that sort of stuff, and I was like, oh, that's a bit different. And then so when I came in for my strategy session, like I'd sort of dabbled a bit in lifting like before I came in, so I knew how to squat, I knew how to deadlift. But even like the first strategy session, you stripped it like way back. You'd like be like, what's the word?
Back to basics?
Yeah. Like it was kind of, you were just like, no, just squat to do the, and it was just so detailed and so kind of like, I don't know, it was just.
Was it clear?
Yeah, it was just, it was the start of that sort of care that is just part of the way you guys work. But so I did that, and then booked in for my first session not long after. And I think that one of the first people I met, and probably lots of people have the same story, one of the first people that I met was Kareen, who like within 5 minutes knew my life story. But it was that kind of like, she like, and everyone else who I was training with were just so welcoming, and you are just like, you come in, and as I said previously, everyone's got their own goals, everyone's working on their own thing, but you're also working together at the same time. And nobody wants to see you fail. Nobody. It's just, but it's also not. Because one of the things I didn't like about CrossFit was the kind of like, come on, you can do it. Like, I don't like that. But it was just a really nice, almost like family atmosphere. And straight away you were like, well, I want to go back and do it again. And it's just that kind of like, you get hooked in quite quickly.
If you don't mind me saying, Jenna, like going back, that's something that you had never felt with fitness before. You always felt like it was an alone thing.
Yeah.
You were just scraping by, hating it, but now you've walked into this place where instantly the members are like pulling you in and bringing you in to be a part of the family.
Yeah.
Does that
definitely
hit the point?
And I think like as a kid, I was never in team sports. I never played football. I never played netball, nothing like that. The only thing I did outside of school was swimming, which was completely on my own, and you were just in your zone doing your thing. And so I've never known what it feels like to be part of a team related to like health and fitness. And although we're not competing at anything here, that's what I imagine it would be like. Mm-hmm. Like just
competing
the kind
at
of
life.
Yeah, exactly. It was, as I say, it was just game changing.
All right, so Jenna, you mentioned a few times now that growing up fitness wasn't something that you did. You hated it at one point in your life. stop, start, and you have to make a very conscious effort to do something. Tell us now what fitness looks like for you.
So it's just part of my day to day. So I mean, I've been working from home, so I haven't been able to come to the Arch as much as I would like. But I'm usually on the Zoom sessions most mornings. And then it's just kind of like, it's just doing stuff. Like I think you said a few like podcasts ago that one of the reasons that you like to train is so you can say yes to things and join into things. Mm-hmm. And that has become a big part of it for me, because as I say, my other half is so kind of annoyingly good at everything and so active, and I have to do something to keep up. And
you have to or you want to?
Well, a bit both. But yeah, so now it's just something that I do. It's like waking up and making a coffee. It's like, it's just part of my routine. And yeah, it's become also like, I mean, there are periods where you're like, oh, I'm going to concentrate on this and try to get in shape for this event or whatever.
We'll talk about that event shortly.
But then there's also like, I mean, like I've been out on my bike and stuff this week for no reason. There's no sort of, like, I'm not training for anything. But it's like, I actually just want to get outside and it feels nice. And like, yeah, I always thought it was just something that fit people said, that they were like, oh yeah, you chase the high. And it's like, do you?
Has it taken 3 years of being a part of AKR to get to that point where exercise is just something that you enjoy and you like doing?
It was probably about 18 months of being at AKR before I stopped seeing, a year to 18 months before I stopped seeing it as a chore. Like, and don't get me wrong, there are some days where it is still a chore.
For all of us.
But then you're also just like, this is something I can do. Like, I don't know, it sounds really cheesy, but you're like, one day I won't be able to do these things, so I want to do them now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of my favourite quotes is, not everyone gets to live old to grow old. So moving.
Yeah.
I think I butchered that really badly there, but it's around those lines. Maybe we'll get someone to Google it in the background and let us know what it actually is. So Jenna, that transition from going, that took 18 months. Was that a smooth transition? Was it a bumpy transition? Did you have blips? Did you go back? Did you go forth?
I think I probably did. Like, I definitely had a couple of emails from Lindsay being like, "You okay? We haven't seen you in a while."
I just ignore them as well.
It's
because I care and I'm on your team.
Straight to the junk box.
But it must have, actually thinking about it, it must have been about a year, because I just not long ago hit my platinum status on my zone, which is 2 years. Mm-hmm. So that's 2 years of consistent training. Yeah. So and I think, to be honest, it was probably, there was no real reason for taking that long to settle in. It was just I'd had, well, at the time, 28 years of not being consistent. So it was like, you can't expect to change that overnight. So yeah, no, it was, I wouldn't have said it was nothing. It was just building the habits, really.
Yeah.
Like.
And you mentioned your husband, who's quite an active person. You are an active person now. Tell us about some of the activities that you go through.
So yeah, like he's very into his mountain biking, and I got a bike because otherwise I'd never see him.
I'm keeping a watchful eye on you until we're married, boy. So we do some, and we've got a very big dog.
The biggest dog I've ever seen.
With the best name.
Yeah, Gunner boy. He's great. So we do sort of shorter rides with him, and we went out yesterday morning, and it was just like such a good feeling being out on the bike outside, and he's right beside you.
Just strap a saddle on him.
Honestly, he was running alongside me, and it felt like I was in the Grand National because I could just hear these feet.
My God. That's amazing.
And yeah, so we do that, and then we also do some longer ones where he doesn't come with us, but we'll be out for kind of like 3-4 hours. And yeah, it's become something that pre-AKR Jenna would have had no part of it. Yeah. I was just like, if you want me to go on a bike up a hill, absolutely not.
Has it brought you closer together?
I think so, yeah. Well, it depends. There's some times where...
Argument pendant.
Yeah. Because he's funny. He's like, as I say, because we always fall out because he's been so active and it comes easy to him. I'm like, you don't understand what it's like to struggle. But then we're kind of getting there. And yeah, it is really good. We do. It's a nice way to spend time together.
And you mentioned earlier that sometimes you are training for things. Let's go into some of those.
So just over 4 weeks ago, we got married. So yeah, our wedding was a bit.
We're talking wedding. I was going to go 100 kilo deadlift first, but let's go. Let's go straight into wedding. Let's talk weddings.
Yeah, so our wedding was a bit of a journey. We rearranged it 3 times.
Not due to anything in particular, right? Just
the mountain biking arguments, like. No, because of COVID, we had to rearrange our wedding 3 times. So we finally got married 4 weeks ago, and yeah, the wedding was the first kind of like aesthetic goal that I set since joining AKR, because I deliberately tried to steer away from them. But yeah, and it became, obviously, because the wedding moved around so much, it was quite difficult to sort of maintain the focus, because I ended up, what I thought was going to be almost like a 10-month run into the wedding ended up being like nearly 2 years, and in fact just over 2 years, and yeah, so that was sort of knuckling down, tracking calories, trying to like just trying to, I wasn't wanting to sort of do a crash diet, kind of like do anything stupid. I just wanted to go into the day feeling my best. And yeah, I did. Like you could always look back and be like, oh, I could have lost like another 2 kilos or whatever, but actually I felt great. And yeah, it was an amazing day.
So you had this in your head that it was going to be a 10-month, like, you know, I remember having a conversation with you when you came in, and you told me you were getting married, and we were all excited, and then we're like, right, okay, what's the plan? And we had a really good plan. You had a tracker spreadsheet, everything was like, so you had that 10 months, but then soon realised, oh, hold on, this is going to be a lot longer. How did you stay focused for that? Did you stay focused for the whole time, or was there dips in the road, or what happened?
It was, so we postponed initially by a full year. So I knew kind of like, oh, I don't need to go straight into, like, I can sort of take the foot off the gas a little bit. And then actually last summer, I think because we'd been locked down for 3 months, when we were finally able to go out, we did a lot of stuff. Like, we actually had quite an active summer last year. And then the toughest bit was sort of Christmas to March this year, like the second lockdown, because I mean, it was the most horrible time of year. At this point, we were still getting married in March, and I was getting very stressed about it, because I mean, it's things like our first wedding was postponed with only 10 days to go, because we were supposed to get married the first Saturday of lockdown. That's how kind of quick it all kicked off. But my dress was bought and paid for and hanging up in the spare room at my parents'. I was like, it needs to fit.
Yeah.
And then, so then we moved again, and it was just, I think I've been emailing Jace every week, and it did sort of settle down, and kind of, I had probably about 4 to 6 weeks of just really focusing, and then, that was...
Yeah, so it was bumpy, but when it came to the crunch of it, you literally was like, I have this dress to get into, I want to feel my best on the day, and that's what was motivating you to see you through to the end.
Yeah.
Madness. Absolutely madness.
You know all about it.
I know, I've only had to postpone once though, and I mean, it is a big deflation that takes the wind out of your sails, so to keep going and to keep pushing on and then do it again
Yeah.
is inspirational and admirable. So well done for smashing
Oh,
through
there are days where I'm like, oh, I wish you'd never asked. But,
That he'd never asked.
You know this is live, right? This is recorded.
but no, it was difficult. And I mean, there wasn't just, I mean, sort of a short-term, like, aesthetic goal like that is always hard. But when you're adding in, like, I don't even know if this is going to happen into it, that's an extra layer of, it's just an extra barrier. So it was really difficult. And to be honest, we went on a wee honeymoon for like 2 weeks, and then I've been back for 2 weeks, and I've been having a break. Like, I've been sort of not training, kind of a bit less structure, and I think I needed it just to sort of decompress a little bit. But now I'm starting to get to that point where I'm like, oh no, I need a bit of structure back again. Not as much, but a little bit more.
Okay, so we're gonna. But there's. I don't even know where to go from here.
I do.
Go for it.
The
There's so much.
like park the wedding to the side at the moment, and tell us about your goal that you had with us to get that 100 kilo deadlift, and what, like, the story behind it and what it meant to you.
So the 100 kilo deadlift was, I don't think I'd actually been here that long at that point. But yeah, so it came about, deadlifting is my favourite. Like, I feel invincible when I'm deadlifting.
Tell us more about that. What do you mean by that?
I just, like, I don't know, there's something about it where it just makes you feel so strong. Like, more so, I think...
Just picking something really
it's
heavy
like,
up and slamming it down.
Yeah, there's just like a kind of...
Something primitive.
Yeah, like, squatting's a bit more kind of
Steady
like...
now.
I like squatting, but it's just not got the same, like, raw kind of power to it. And yeah, and I think so. I really enjoyed deadlifting, and it was probably coming out of the marathon kind of fog. It was the first time that it was like, oh, I can do that. Like, this is something that I'm good at, and I want to work at it. And I think it was the opposite to what I was having with the marathon, where everything was a struggle. Like, the deadlift was a challenge, but I was like, oh, I'm actually on the front foot here, and I can sort of set a goal and chip away at it and achieve it. And yeah, so I came in one day and I was just like, I want to deadlift 100 kilos for no reason. Like, absolutely no reason.
Well, I think there is a reason, because you knew that you enjoyed it and you wanted to work at it, and it was a goal that you could see yourself achieving. Yeah. So yeah, definitely.
And it was coming at a time I was leaving my previous job, and I was just really, really quiet, because like, sort of all my work had started to be distributed, like, to the people who were going to be doing it after I'd left, and I was just kind of like, do you know, I need something to get my teeth into, because I'm just sitting there waiting for my notice to finish. And yeah, so I came in here, and you guys adapted the program, so regardless of what the program was that day, if it was squats or overhead press or whatever, I was deadlifting. So I was deadlifting every session and just sort of chipping away. And then, yeah, it was just, I think it took probably about 4 weeks, something like that, 4 or 5 weeks, just getting higher and higher. And then I think it may have been a personal challenge week that I actually did it. I think that was the end goal. That the personal challenge week was coming up, and I was like, 100 kilos.
Yeah, I want to work to the
Yeah. And because I remember it being on the board, so it must have been personal challenge week. And yeah, and it was after having had the experience with the marathon where it was just a slog from start to finish, this was something that I could enjoy, and I did. And yeah, we got there. and it was ace.
Tell us a bit more about the difference between training for the two, and you said one was a slog and one you were enjoying. Tell us a bit more about that.
I think it comes back to like sort of the level of the challenge. Like the 100 kilo deadlift was a challenge. Like the day that I decided to do it, I couldn't have walked in there and lifted it up there and then. So
I remember the day that I was told Jenna wants to lift 100 kilos. I was like, all right,
Hey, brother.
let's go.
But I think at the time I was maybe at like 70. That's sort of where I was at. Whereas, say like, so the 100 kilo, instead of 100 kilos, it's 26.2 miles, but I can't even run one. So that's where it was kind of like, there's a challenge and there's just stupidity.
Yeah.
And it was the sort of, it's seeing the small gains and actually feeling like you're getting somewhere, which with the marathon I didn't. I never felt like I was on the front foot. It was always sort of like, oh, I've run 10 miles, that's the most I've ever run. All right, here we go, 12. Like
Too big a jump.
Yeah.
And so
Too big a
probably
jump.
in a too short a period of time for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the deadlift, it sounds like you had 4, 5, 6 weeks to get to the end goal, but you'd already feel good about it and you're on the front foot.
Like I'm trying to move away from it, but like I'm very bad for focusing on stuff that I'm good at. Like if there's something I'm not good at, it doesn't exist. I don't want to do it. And running was like that. I've never been a good runner. Even as a kid at like school sports days, I was not a good runner. So it was a struggle. I didn't enjoy it. Whereas, the deadlift, I was like, as I say, it makes me feel amazing when I do it. Whether there's 40 kilos on the bar or 100 kilos on the bar, I just feel great when I do it. Whereas I've never said that about going for a run.
So you see yourself as a strong deadlifter, but you didn't see yourself as a runner, and you never will, and you never want to, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I think it's, I guess something that we've not touched on is a sort of the perception, like, that I had that fit people run. That's what they do. Like, I didn't really...
They run and eat rabbit food, right?
Exactly. And it's just kind of the like strength side of it I wasn't really exposed to until after the marathon, and I was like, I need to find something to do that's not running. And it was kind of, I just thought it was expected of you that, like, if you were getting fit, that you ran. That's what you did.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone with that.
And then it was actually eye-opening to come in here and mix up, you've got the lifting, but then you've also got little like cardio blasts and whatever, and it was like, oh, actually, I don't need to be running around Duthie Park
26.2 miles.
crying under a tree. But yeah,
I actually want to dive into this a little bit. So you did this training for the marathon, and it sounds like you hated every moment of it.
Yep.
How did you stay motivated to keep going to the next session?
I think because of the personal circumstances, because I was running for my friend who was going through chemo.
So that external motivation just to keep chipping away.
And folk had donated and all that sort of stuff. And there was a kind of like...
Show face, now I can't.
I didn't have a choice. Like if I'd just entered it on a whim, kind of, I'm going to run... I wouldn't have done it. I probably would have bailed.
And how's that differ to the motivation for the deadlift? Obviously, you're seeing progress each week. Is the motivation different then?
Yeah. I think because that was something I was doing for me. Because there was no, when I said at the start, there was no reason for it. There was no kind of like event. Like it was just coming in here. Can I do it? Yes. But in a way, that was more motivational because it was something that I wanted to do just for me, and there was no kind of like no external factors. It was just, can you do it? Yes or no? And yeah.
And you did.
And I did.
I remember losing my voice that day.
Wasn't Kev here as well?
No.
Was he not? I'm sure I remember him being here when you lifted it.
No, he's not taking my glory.
I am.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. It was a good day when you lifted that, and you actually did it for more than 1 rep?
I did 2. I did it twice that week. I did 2 the first session, and then like 2 days later I came back and did 5.
Just because.
And just to see if I could.
Just to see if you could. Amazing. You mentioned the messy kitchen.
Yes.
Let's go. Now's your time to tell us all about that and get into it.
So the messy kitchen is my little pet project on Instagram. It's because I love cooking, and it's the one sort of thing I think that I can completely lose myself in, and I just potter around in the kitchen, and I actually had the account for I think over a year before I posted anything.
Oh, you're about to say I actually had a messy kitchen.
Oh, wow. yeah.
That's where it came from.
Yeah. So the name comes from the fact that it looks like a bomb's gone off after I've finished cooking. Like, you see Kev eating his dinner and he's like loving how it tastes, but it's also like in despair at the dishes that he's got to do afterwards.
So you had the domain name for a year?
Yeah, and I didn't post anything on it. And then it was a pre-COVID thing. I'd started it before lockdown, but obviously during lockdown, it's really sort of been something that I've got stuck into.
Was the timing just right for it?
Yeah, it was kind of like, so we, for the first lockdown, Kev and I actually moved to stay with my parents, because they're out in the country, and we just had like a small flat in the city centre. So we were like, we've got Gunner, so we were like, we need to go. And like, it was one of those things. Boris was on TV at 8 o'clock, and I think 8:30 we were in the car,
yes.
like, driving out to my mum and dad's.
Yeah.
And that was us. And it was kind of it became a way to sort of pass the time. Mm-hmm. And I would sort of look up a recipe or think of something, and then try it out on Kev and my parents. And then
Try this.
Yeah. And then it's just gone from there. And yeah, it's a hobby, but it's something that I do sort of just for me. It's just fun, and I like sharing stuff that I've made with people. So
How come you didn't post anything for a year? What was?
I think part of it was just sort of, it wasn't. I just felt like I would look a bit stupid. There was a kind of, yeah, almost like, oh God, if I put this out there, what are folk going to think? What are folk going to say? And then I was like, well, actually, I don't know, it was maybe a bit of just like backing myself a little bit, and I was like, you can do this, like you can
Deadlift 100 kilos. Pop it.
like you
Post
can
up.
cook, just share it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's been ace. Like I love cooking for people, but I also love hearing that somebody's made something that I've like posted or whatever. So yeah, I think it was just a sort of nothing particularly happened. I think I just decided one day, I was like, right, I've sat on this for so long, we're just going to go for it.
And how do you blend that into sort of your fitness and your training?
I've always been sort of, I don't like to compromise with my food. Like there's a time and a place for sort of lower calorie stuff and sort of calorie counting, as we spoke about with the wedding prep. But I'll also kind of like train to sort of enjoy my life, if that makes sense. I can't be one of these people who eats the same thing day in, day out. I've tried it. It's not for me.
Mike, tell us about your breakfast.
I like variety. I like food for me has to be interesting. So it has been a bit of a adjustment to sort of balance that, because at the same time you're like, well, I can't have fried chicken every day. Even though Kev would probably want to have fried chicken every day. So yeah, I just take like a sort of sensible approach, and I don't sort of stop myself from having something or making something, but it's like, okay, well, if I'm having that, then I'll probably have a lighter lunch or something like that. So It's fit in quite well. It's probably one of the reasons that I didn't share it sooner was more shifting my mindset away from sort of, oh, I don't want folk to know what I'm eating. Like, the folk will judge, like, oh, she's had that tonight. And I just was like...
Does that come from like the stop-start side of things?
I think so, yeah.
And you feel more comfortable now?
Yeah,
with
and
nutrition and training?
I also think it's nobody's business. No. Like, if somebody's going to be sitting there being like, oh, yeah, they had fried chicken and then they had curry the night before, like, oh, I'm just like, all right, what of it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I think I sort of got over that almost like fear of embarrassment, like that folk were going to like food shame me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been great. Like, and it has been a really good way while we were in lockdown, just for a bit more, although it was like digital, a bit more kind of social interaction, because it does get folk chatting, folk message me. And yeah, it's...
You can tell by your expression that you love it.
Yeah,
like
I do.
It's a passion.
Yeah.
Cooking.
And
and it's fitting in well with your training because it's almost balancing it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And again, yeah, it's just doing something, like, I don't really have any sort of creative hobbies. Like, I'm not musical, I'm not like, I can't draw, I can't do, like, so it's that kind of, that's my creative...
That's how you express yourself.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, Lindsay can't draw either.
Don't bring me back to that.
A teacher once told her she was rubbish.
And it's stuck with me for the rest of my life.
Oh, amazing. Jenna, is there anything that we haven't asked that you want to tell us or own up to or diverge?
I don't know. No, I think like we've covered quite a lot.
Yeah, got through.
Yeah.
Lindsay?
I'm happy with that. I think you've told a really good story about how you weren't into fitness, you had the stop-start cycles, you've then changed your mindset on it and really starting to enjoy it, living with it, and it's almost like it's part of who you are, and I think just it's an incredible way to look at it.
I think one thing as well that we haven't touched on is coming to AKR was like the first time that I realised that other people struggle with the same things. Because you go to a kind of a normal gym where you just walk in and walk out. You're on your own and you think, oh God, nobody else is struggling. Yeah. Nobody else is having the issues that I'm having. And then as soon as you came in here, you'll hear somebody be like, oh yeah, I couldn't be bothered, like blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, me too.
So you felt like you had this place that you belonged in.
Yeah, and it was just sort of kind of, you go from feeling left out and not part of the health and fitness club to very much being part of it, and that's been really good.
And has that helped you stay and sort of enjoy training? Yeah,
and I think it's easier as well to, when things don't go to plan. So like I said, I haven't really trained for the past few weeks. Like previously, that would have probably been like, that's it, I'm not, yeah.
Meltdown mode.
Yeah. Whereas it's like, oh, actually, this is quite natural. Like, we've just had the wedding, just been off for 2 weeks. We're settling into a new routine. It's like, because the wedding was rearranged 3 times, it's actually like, it took up a lot of time, and now we've got that time back. So it's sort of adjusting to that. But it's also knowing from the members and the stuff that you guys do here that that's completely natural. You're not 100% balls to the wall all the time. Nope. And I think it's quite easy to think that that's what everyone else is doing, and they're not.
Amazing.
Great place to finish, I think.
Jenna, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thanks for co-hosting with me.
Thank you,
Want to take us out?
No, please, you go. You're the best at it. That's why you're there.
If you've enjoyed Jenna's story or if it's inspired you to get in touch, it's akrfitness.com. Reach out, just let's have a little chat. Or you can chat with Lindsay at least. And if you please can share, like us on social media, follow us. All the tags are on there. It's #Lindsay.
Energising Life podcast.
There you go. First time this time. And everything else is on the website, AKRfitness.com. And we'll see you in the next one.